So visuals are very important when it comes to the vibe of something, the energy, the feeling of something. And I know for me, the instruments that I play give off certain vibes. And whether it's that instrument's energy that says, I want to play black metal, or I want to play 80s stuff, I want to play some hair metal, or maybe something wants to be more proggish, something, I don't know. And I don't know if that's the instrument trying to speak through me, or there's something just about that instrument that when I see that, I feel a thing. And no matter what I play on it, I just gravitate towards this one thing. And so it's like it's like album artwork. When you look at album artwork, that artwork gives off a vibe. It gives off a feeling that says this is what this album is. When you look at black metal album covers, they kind of have a style to them that tries to give an aura or emanate a feeling that says this is what this is. This is what you're going to experience. And being an artist and understanding contrast and values and warm tones and cool tones and all these different things, even in music, there are colors and there are contrasts, a lot called dynamics, highs and lows and thick and thin and pretty and gross and all these things. There's all these contrasting audible textures, light and dark, between a minor chord versus a major chord, where major chords sound happier, so they're brighter, and minor chords sound sad, so they're darker, things like that. And I kind of feel like when I started to kind of get into doom and wanted to have the instruments to get me into that mindset, I gravitated to things that were a little bit more classic. So when I think of classic shapes, I think of Gibson SGs, Gibson Explorers, Gibson Les Pauls, these single cut shapes, the double cut with the SGs, the big X-type shapes, Z shapes with the Explorers, and like Black Sabbath with Tony Iommi and the SG, and then thinking about Kirk Weinstein of Down and Crowbar using the Explorers. There's just these bands that give off that sludge doom metal thing that kind of gravitate towards more classic shapes. And then I tried to go towards that to kind of circulate, to look to that instrument to try to feed back to me that feeling. So when I sit down to play these songs, write these songs, record these songs, that they give off, it puts me in that mindset, that space, that vibe, that says we're doing doom now, and so it's like get into that. This ultimately put me on what I called or the quest. There was a year where I was like, there's some particular instruments that I want to get into my collection to kind of build this mind space for my doom stuff. And I wanted to have 2 Explorers and 2 single cuts. I initially was going down the route of the Les Paul, and I had acquired some different guitars, and then of course some single cuts that I already have, and to try to record where I was at the time. And then there was some give and take and buy and sell and trade into the instruments that I have today. So I had a Matt Heafy Epiphone Signature, and I bought that for some reasons, found out I was wrong and wasn't paying attention very well, and it was a letdown. And there was some things about that guitar that I loved, still love, and some things that I didn't love, and I ended up getting rid of it, and we'll discuss that later. But that did turn me on to the LTDs. I initially didn't really like the LTD single cut shape, mainly because this cut here wasn't as straight out like a Les Paul. Of course, this doesn't cut in as much like a traditional Les Paul, and that really bugged me, and it deterred me from getting these instruments. And I ended up, after the Matt Heafy, I got one of these, and now I don't want to play any other single cuts except for the ESP LTD brand. But I got this one. This is the CTM EC1000 CTM T for full thickness, double bound. And then I also have the black one. Now this one is tuned in drop C and the other one is tuned to drop A. So they kind of mirror each other. There's that, you know, talking about contrasts and lights and darks. You know, when I think of doom and like black metal, when I think of doom, I think doom, you know, like darkness and despair, slow, dreary, you know, forests that have no end in sight, but there is always light that shines through, and that's kind of like that. It's like I have one for the black and one for the white, to also have that, to represent that contrast. And then I also got, I had always wanted one of these. This is the Lizzie Hale Explorer from Epiphone. And we'll get more into all these instruments, into their specs and specifics and the mods that I've done. But I have this one, and then I also have a black Explorer. So again, this one's in, my drop C guitars are white, my drop A's are in black. So drop C is, of course, a higher tuning, so it's brighter than drop A, the lower tune stuff. But yeah, it's the light and the dark, and that ended up kind of being, like I said, it was a quest that I had to try to kind of fulfill this vibe that I was feeling. And it's like, I want to have, when I pick up these instruments, I want to do doom. You know, I bought these, and the way they're set up, the pickups, the way the wiring is very different from everything else that I do to get a particular kind of sound when I'm writing and recording this stuff. Because my normal metal stuff, it's like bridge pickup, full bore, no stop, no reason to change. I could just put an on-off switch on the guitar and be done. The doom stuff's different. There is a lot more nuance when it comes to the volume of the guitar, the tone of the guitar, the way the pickups are, the pickup positions. Like, there's a lot more involved in it. And I set these guitars up, wired these guitars particularly for this project, you know, for the Sophist Hustle doom stuff. So when I initially started recording these doom tracks, they were done with Explorers and single cuts, but they weren't all done with my black and whites. There's other guitars, and we'll get into that, and we'll discuss those over the next several weeks. But I kind of wanted to talk about why the black and whites and why the quest. You know, it was like every year I kind of say, hey, these are the guitars I would like for my collection. This is kind of what I want to set out to do. And being really into the doom stuff, these were the guitars, the black and white EC1000s, and I wanted an Alex Skolnick single cut, the blue black with the Floyd. I still don't have one of those, and that's okay. But it was mainly these two, and I ended up getting them both in that year. So quest accomplished. So yeah, I hope you will all come with me on this journey and talk about what these songs are, what they mean to me, what I hope they can mean to you. You know, if you check them out, please. And then the instrumentation behind them, if you're into that, lyric readings and the inspiration behind those. And everybody can join me on that, even if you're not a musician. So hope you go on this adventure with me over the next 9 to 10 weeks.